Hi everyone, Jonathan from Quixel here. We'll be going over the brand new release of Bridge 2020, which is the first of many updates to come. Today, I have the honor of having my colleague Tyler Puryear with me, and we'll be going in depth into how to work with Bridge and what you can expect from it. Hey Tyler, let's go ahead and get started, huh, buddy?
All right, let's do it. Thanks everyone for being here. Let's just kick right off into it. And I know we're all pretty excited that to finally have 2020 since we kind of announced it to you guys a few months ago, and there's been several people excited about this. So let's just jump right in. So right off the bat, I want to go ahead and mention that if you have an Epic Games account, go ahead and make sure that you're signed in, provided that you're using Unreal Engine 4 for all of this. If you're not using Unreal Engine 4, then just sign in with your regular Quixel account and you're pretty used to it from there. So the first things that you'll probably recognize is a bit different off the bat is this home page right here in the middle. Instead of it just being all completely tiles, we have sort of not really a website type flow, but you have this header here at the very top and some featured information. On the left, we've kind of restructured the browser experience quite drastically, actually. And we have also a couple new ways of doing searching, which I'll cover that on in a little bit later on. So right here in the front, we are going to pretty much break down the core library. And as I mentioned a second ago, we have the header and the featured content. And this featured content is really just some collections that we have, and you can see over here in the collections tab. But if we scroll down, it actually helps you the way this is flowed is so that you can be on almost kind of like a discovery page where you can go through here and explore what's the latest surfaces or the latest models, latest plants, and get an idea of what we're posting online every single week, practically every single day, I think we are. And scrolling on down, we even locate in this kind of scroll bar experience. If we hit the right or left arrow, we can scroll through each of our collections, and we have all the collections from in order and we'll be covering collections in just a little bit. And this is another way of searching through Bridge is right here in the middle. Instead of having you to go to the left toolbar right here on the side, you can actually just go through this home page here and select the different types of assets. And if you notice that these asset types are the exact same asset types listed in the list here on the left toolbar. As well as if we keep scrolling down, we'll get to something that you're more used to, this tile window format here with the trending assets and latest assets. And that's something that the Bridge team has worked really hard on, is to help make this more of a user experience for you guys. So the next thing I want to do is I want to pop on over here and select the collections tab. So each one of these words real quick is a breakdown of the different types of assets that you have. So the home tab here on the left will bring you back to the home page, and then you can sort through each of the types of assets. If you select on collections, you can then sort through environment collections or essential collections. And essential collections, if I scroll down here in the middle, essential collections are basically all of the very specific types of assets. Whether you want to have an asset that's specifically for city curbs, you want to look at all the concrete assets, or you want to look at all the concrete barrier assets. It helps break down something that's kind of nitty gritty, so you don't have to go searching really in depth for. As well as the normal environment collections that you're probably used to seeing. We also have an ArcViz collection and a community collection. Now the community collection is basically we've handpicked some collections in the community that have some really nice artwork, and some of this work is extremely phenomenal, like this cyberpunk alley or these forest ruins. So I do believe we're working on a way, potentially, if you think that your work is really awesome, we're going to work on a way so that you can submit this and for review, and then we'll pick in some of the best ones to be featured on this community tab here. And so basically each one of these tabs is going to break down a header and a featured content, as you can see. So it's a really nice structured way of going about it. Another thing I want to point out is the tutorial collection tab here. So let me go ahead and just click tutorial here. We could also select the tutorial text here on the left, but if we go ahead and select tutorial, again, it brings up a header of what you're looking at. And so here is a collection of all of the feature tutorials that we've done in the past. And you'll be very familiar with the Fantasy Fort here from World of Warcraft, or the sci-fi landscape from Blood Gulch and Halo. So the goal of this is to kind of help get you to, let's go ahead and just click on one real quick so it makes sense. So here, we have the World of Warcraft section. So all of these assets, if you can scroll through, will be the ones that were featured in the Fantasy Fort tutorial that we did several months back. Another thing that we're going to be working on is finding a way that if you want to use all of these assets in together, or have a project file in Unreal Engine 4, you can do so. It's still in the works to make this more polished experience for you guys, but the essence is that on each one of these feature tutorials, you'll be able to download the project files, some planned project files that is, and you can use those to kind of test out and see what we've done to kind of help you learn each and every aspect of how to set up a scene, how to light a scene, or more specifically, how everyone textures it. I know this scary restroom here was very popular release, and each one of it's several decals on this tutorial. So knowing how to do the decals and how you can manipulate those yourself would be a really great learning experience and self-teaching experience that we're kind of really hoping to bring forth to you guys. But those features, those aspects will be coming to us at a later update. So stay tuned for that, and we'll be sure to showcase that again later on. So let me just scroll down here. All right. So the next thing, we kind of touched on it just a little bit, but there's a few different ways that we can go about searching. So one way we can go about searching is right here in the middle. Is we can click on each one of these assets, or we can do 3D assets, search for all the 3D assets. Say we want that 3D asset to be bricks. So we click on bricks, and we want that 3D asset to be part of rubble. We can just do that, and we can scroll through and then see what our trending assets here. I like this one. We'll select that. And then once we select it, we have the preview panel here that pops out on the right that you're probably used to. This preview panel hasn't really changed a whole lot, but it has been way more efficient and works a whole lot better, especially with the 3D experience, which we'll cover in just a little bit. So the next way we can search is through the left toolbar, as you're familiar with. So let's break this down a little bit further. So again, we have the Home tab, and we can break down each one of our assets. We can select decals. We can choose that we want that decal to be moss, and you can see each time that I select one of the subcategories here on the left toolbar, it automatically changes what we're seeing here in the middle viewport here. Go ahead and exit out of that real quick. And we can keep breaking this down further and further, and it's just a nice repetitive search results. Same thing for collections. If we want to go back to collections, I want to look at let's see what's in our environments tab here. So the environment breaks up, as you can see. We want to choose the historical one, and then let's try to search for something Roman Empire, and now we've searched for all the Roman Empire assets. So you kind of get the flow. Each one of these is going to break down even further of what you have, as well as your purchased assets will all be the same exact sort of flow. Your favorites will be the exact same sort of flow, where it breaks down each and every asset available. But one really cool thing, another form of searching is, let's go ahead and just, for giggles here, let's go ahead and choose surface, and then let's choose ground. So what you've probably noticed that's a little bit different is this little bar right here, this one that already says surfaces. So this is another way that we could really search for assets from the very beginning. If we already have something searched, like I just clicked on surfaces and ground, we can further refine our search results within the viewport here. So say I want to search for different size types. I want something that's between 1 and 2 meters. Okay, so it filtered through my current results of everything that could be 1 to 2 meters. Now let's find what kind of state it's in. Is it new? Is it old, or is it damaged? I'm just going to keep this at all because I want to see more assets, but I do want to change the environment that it's displaying in. I'm looking for something, let's say something like forest. So let's search for all of our forest ones. And you can even have a filter result for different colors, but we can just keep that at all colors so that we can see more assets. And as before, we can keep scrolling down and we can see all the assets that are based off of those filter results that I just showcased to you. If you don't want to have to go through the searching on the left toolbar, and let's go back to the home page, and if you don't want to have to go through the home page and search through all the different collections, but you want something just a little bit faster, there's 2 ways you can do that. One, you can just go straight to that bar we just talked about a second ago and select all types. And then you could further you can start off your search by selecting what type of asset that you want, and then you can proceed to filtering it from there. The other way that I really like to search is the search bar up here. Now you're probably already used to this a little bit, but it's gotten a lot better. Let me show you what I mean. Let's type in just ground. So I hit enter and it just automatically brought up all the things that have a tag with it similar to the word ground. Let's look at that again and see what happened, but let's type something else. So let's type in wall. I'm not going to hit enter just yet, but I'm leaving the word wall up there without hitting enter, and you can see that it's bringing some search results up that are some typical search results or your most recent search results. It's just giving you a little heads up about what you can actually see going forward, as well as sometimes it'll display a collection that has wall in it or something that has a tag with wall in it. Let's try something else. Let's type in metal. All right, and now let's go ahead and just click on this little collection right here that says industrial metals. All right, so you can see immediately that it shows our search results right here in the search bar. It has dynamically adjusted the left toolbar to show where we're at, and our center window here has updated with our filters. Now, let's say I want to look for a certain color metal. How about orange? All right, so here's all the orange metals that I have. I know there's 7 assets here, and I could just easily select each one of these, but let's try one that's old. Oh, they're all pretty old. Never mind about that. Okay, that was a fluke. It's just a really quick way to do searching. Now, I know one of the questions is going to come up about the AI searching, and AI searching is where you can take an image, any image that you want, and you can drag it over into Bridge at some designated area that we haven't disclosed yet. And that image, the AI software will essentially pick assets that would relate to that image that you've dragged and dropped over or that you've imported. That feature hasn't been removed. It's still going to happen, but it is in its polishing phase and still needs to be worked on just a little bit more. But I guarantee you it's going to come out at a later update, so stick tuned for that on all of our updates, and more features like this will keep coming around. So the next thing that I want to break down is looking at a single asset. Right now we've just looked at how we can do some different searching and how the home page is a bit dynamic, but let's break down what a single asset can do. So to do this, let's just go to our collections, and I'm just going to search for something random. How about we pick something like natural, and then let's scroll down a bit, and let's choose this tree stump right here. As you can see, if you've watched the tutorial that we just posted on Wednesday, this tree stump I actually have on my account. So let's not choose this one just yet. let's choose this Mossy Embarkment right here. And it's not part of my account because it doesn't have the blue check mark. So let's click this, and out to the right pops the preview panel that you're pretty used to. But let's go ahead and look at a bit further here in our 3D window, because I just want to showcase something real quick once it decides to load for me. It's a pretty big asset. All right, so we have a little mini 3D window here, but it's not that, it's hard to see. So right here in the bottom right of this preview window, we can select the full screen mode. So if we go into full screen mode, we can easily left click and drag the asset around. We can zoom in and out. But the thing I wanted to point out is that we can't really zoom in and out very far. And that's because this asset's not an asset that is downloaded on our machine. If we were to go back to the asset that I have right here that's downloaded on my machine, again, as the blue check mark exemplifies, if we were to go back to the 3D view here, we can then, once it loads, it's a pretty large asset as well. Here we go. Once we have loaded an asset that is part of our local library, we can zoom in much further. We can even at this point change the resolution of this asset, as well as change the different levels of detail of this asset so that we can see what's what. For example, if we wanted to see the wireframe view, this is the highest mesh of this asset. And if we just wanted to know what's LOD5, well, we just click LOD5 and we can see the mesh breakdown of what this asset is showcasing. Just go back to PPR here.
That 3D view is something else, isn't it?
I know, it's really nice to be able to scroll around and see exactly how it is and how detailed it is, especially whenever you get something that's 8K.
And you can tell by the way that it is.
Mm-hmm.
As always, guys, feel free to ask questions in chat. If you see Quixel chatting, that is me. I will do my best to keep up with all of you as much as I can. Occasionally, I will ask questions in public, and Tyler can take over. But so far, I've been able to handle it. So keep it up, guys.
Oh, I'm glad you're able to handle it pretty well. All right, so now let's talk about the export process. So we're going to just go, let's pick something fun again. Let's pick something out of our tutorial collection. And how about we pick something from the Blood Gulch scene here. And I'm gonna scroll down and let's go ahead and select this guy, this Mossy Stump. And we haven't downloaded this, but let's go ahead and go through our download settings real quick. So there's two ways that you can adjust your download settings. One is right here after you've selected an asset, or what I would recommend before you start downloading assets is really figure out what your download is going to be used for, basically. So right here at the very bottom of this preview panel, there is a global download setting button. So let's go ahead and click this. In this pop out, we can actually see that we can basically specify what our download settings is per surface or 3D models, if it's a 3D vegetation, so on and so forth. You get the idea. So for 3D models, let's just say we want it to be 2K by default. And I want that to be Unreal Engine 4. And we have a few mesh format options here between FBX, OBJ, and ABC, but we'll just keep it at the Unreal Engine 4 preset. You can change presets at any time. We can do any preset really, but and in addition, if you were to change one of these, like say, let's just turn off ambient occlusion. If you turned off one of those, then the material preset just goes to custom. So you can pretty much customize this to any type of export or download process that you want. But I'm just going to go ahead and just keep Unreal Engine 4 available. And for the sake of time, I just want the LOD0, the highest mesh, to be the one that's downloaded. And it doesn't really matter. We can just keep these on. Sorry about that. We can just keep these on, and then we can always just change our mesh options here for any specific asset, as well as change the different material presets, and you get the same type of options. So let's go ahead and just deselect these, and I am pretty fine with those settings. So let's go ahead and download this at 2K. While you download, you can see a progress bar kind of start right here, but also there's a download button that pops out. It tells you your speed, it tells you how much is left over, and that was a pretty fast download. Also, while this window little dropout is open, let's click the folder icon right next to the export icon. And that should, but it didn't. We could also do this by right-clicking on the tile and select Go to Files. It did do it. I just have my window hidden. There we go. So you can go straight to where the asset is in your local library really quickly. And if you wanted to update it, if you wanted to update the mesh from here, you can do that, and it should update dynamically. Otherwise, you'd have to re-import it back. But you shouldn't have to do that with any of the Megaskins assets. I'm referring to custom assets, and we'll talk about custom assets in just a little bit because I know that's a pretty high topic with everyone with Bridge right now. So let's go ahead and exit out of this. And now that we have the asset downloaded, a new tab here on the right has popped out, and that's called Export Settings. So just like download settings, we can also customize our global export settings. Same exact settings. You get to choose what you're exporting to, and you get to choose which kind of mesh LOD that you want and file format. So some of the really similar settings that you're used to. So here we have our first export we're going to do is to Unreal Engine. And if you haven't got this already installed and you don't know how to install the plugin for Unreal Engine, there's this little question mark icon right to the left. If we click that, that pops up pretty much some documentation that guides you on exactly how to do this. So if we scroll down, it's really it's pretty intuitive. So you should be able to follow along step by step. And it tells you how to install the software. It tells you how to export assets. So it's really 1, 2, 3 process that you should look into if you don't have a clue on how to install the plugin, or if you haven't already seen the tutorial that we posted on Wednesday. I believe I covered it there too. The next big thing that with Unreal Engine that you have to make sure of is that when you're exporting to it, is that you have the correct engine specified, and that the installation folder for that plugin goes to the appropriate location. As you can see here, I've already got mine installed, so this location here goes into the plugin folder of that specific engine's version. If you try to open up version 4.23 and you're exporting here from 4.24, you're going to get some errors and it can be frustrating. So just make sure that everything is lined up and you really should be good to go. And the next thing that I know some people are probably curious about is this project location selection here. So this is, say, if you have an Unreal Engine project already started and you just want to export an asset from Bridge to Unreal Engine 4 to a specific spot in that project folder, all you have to do is just specify where you want it to go. If you don't specify where this is being exported to in the project browser and the Unreal Editor, then Bridge will just basically create a default Megaskins folder, and then it'll keep creating subfolders within the Megaskins folder that is extremely similar to the left toolbar breakdown here. If we were to go back and click home, it'll start creating folders that are just like, as you can see here, 3D assets, 3D plants, surfaces, so on and so forth. So now what we can do is, real quick, let's touch just real quick on these advanced settings here, because some people want to specify some things a little bit further. Not me, but some people might. So the advanced settings basically lets you rename the asset whatever you want. Or if you want to, if we scroll down this window, we can package texture maps together. It's really efficient in UE4 to say on the RGB channels have a different texture per channel, and you can utilize that within the engine to save on resources, basically. So this is the area where you can specify, hey, I want the roughness to be on the red channel or the metallicness to be on the green channel. You can specify that, or you can specify any texture that you want, as well as its exports types. And here is the area where if you want to rename the texture suffix to something other than albedo, you're more than welcome to do so. If you are having a little trouble doing that and you need more information on how to do that, again, there's this little question mark icon here that'll pretty much walk you through step by step on how you can do this. So they've pretty much guided your hand into this process. So now here that we've got everything set up, let's go ahead and just export this to Unreal Engine 4. I've already got a project started. It's just a blank template here, nothing special. So back in Bridge, at this point, since we've downloaded the asset, all we have to do is just click Export. And you can see in the top right here, it's saying that it's currently exporting, and that'll take it a second because it's having to go through all the meshes and textures and stuff. But I have just specified only the LOD0 mesh. If you're wanting to export different LODs, I believe you'll have to export each LOD individually as you go forward. So export was successful, it just told me that. So let's open up our Unreal Engine project here. And you can see right off the Mossy Stump that we just had is presented to us right here in our project browser. It's pretty that easy. All we have to do now is just drag our 3D asset into our scene, and voila, it's just a one-click process. You don't have to worry about changing anything. If you want to change anything within the editor here, you most certainly can. And yeah, that's pretty straightforward. I can't believe how straightforward it is. So we can actually keep doing this all day. We can just go back to let's go back to that collection, that sci-fi collection here. And let's say we just want to export something else. Let's try this Mossy Rock here because I do not have this downloaded. Change our download settings. We'll keep it at 2K. Download this. And you can see right when I click download, it says I've purchased it. And as soon as the download finishes, the green check mark here in the left of the tile will change from green to 2, or from green to blue. And there it is. The other way to export, the whole reason why I'm showing another asset is, say we don't want to click export here and we don't care about this. Say we've got our global export settings here exactly the way we want. We want them all to be identical. And we don't want to have to keep selecting each tile and going over here to the export settings tab. I make it sound like it's really long process, but it's really not. It's really fast. But say you want to be that person that's even faster. Well, we can do it straight from here. So if we don't even have to select the asset, we can just click the little export icon here to the right. Before I do that, another thing that we can do for these super efficient people is if we click this asset and then hold Control and click, or hold Shift and click on another asset that we have downloaded. Say, let's go back to the one that I have downloaded before. Aha, so now we've got more than one asset selected. We have this asset and this asset selected, and you can see the panel to the right has updated to show us that, hey, you've got 2 assets selected. So this is the multiple aspect, a multiple selection process that we can do. If we want to, let's select a few more that we don't have part of our account here. So 3 of these assets we have downloaded on our local machine, and 4 of these assets we do not. We could download all 7 assets, or we can just export the 3 assets that we have downloaded. That's perfectly fine. You can just, if we were to select download 7 assets, then the 4 assets that aren't part of our account would essentially obviously add to our account. So this is one way that you can do some quick selection, some quick download and exporting without having to worry about opening up the preview panel. But you're more than welcome to open up the preview panel because, as I said before, it gives you a chance to preview the asset in its multiple levels of detail before you make a commitment that you want that asset. So it's pretty handy. So with this asset, all we have to do is just click the export icon in the top right. and the usual export scene here in the top right will showcase itself, and we'll just let that go for just a second. Shouldn't take too long. How are we doing in chat, John?
Oh, so far so good. Nothing that I would have to have you answer just yet, but don't worry. We will have an open question session towards the end of the stream, guys. We always do.
Oh yeah, always. All right, so that imported in just fine. You can see it has created the folder structure here for us already, so let's just drag and drop. And now we have 2 assets here in Unreal Engine 4. So it's that one real quick process. Pretty simple. The next thing I want to do is let's go ahead and go back to this Mossy Stump asset that we had selected before. Now let's try and export to something other than Unreal Engine 4, because that's all we've showcased here. Let's go ahead and export to Blender. So I'm going to select the export to drop down box here. I'm going to go down to where it says Blender. And again, if you don't know how to install Blender, just hit the question mark icon and follow the instructions, and it'll tell you exactly how to install Blender. But the premise is that you copy this script here, and inside Blender, I've already got a project open here. Basically, you go to Preferences, and then you go down to Add-ons, and you can see I've already got, let me put this in the middle of the screen for you. And you can see I've already got the Megascans plugin here, but you would just paste that script into the field and then search for the appropriate file that the installation guide tells you to search for. You install it, and then for each Blender project, I believe you have to still go through and check this every time for a new project. And so once you have that checked, then all we have to do is go back to Blender. Go back to Bridge, and then we'll just export this, but let's export this one at 4K because it looks a tad bit better that I found. So let's export this one at 4K. It is exporting to Blender. This whole process worked a whole lot faster for me earlier. There we go. That was pretty quick. So back in Blender, here's our asset. It's just popped right in. So let's go ahead and select and scale this up a tad. And then just do a quick render. And there you have it. Really fast. We just popped from Bridge straight to Blender. No hassle, no issues there. And so if you've noticed, or if you're aware, that Blender is actually a free source as well, just like Bridge and just like Unreal Engine 4. So with these 3 together, you actually have a really nice ecosystem or synergy of free professional tools that you can create anything that you want. Epic has actually given Blender a mega grant, I believe is what we call it, or what they call it. So they've given Blender, finally Blender's getting the attention that it deserves. It's gotten a mega grant, as well as some other sources have given grants to them. So they're able to bring up the software much better than it used to be. So that has also allowed us to make our connection to Blender so much more effortlessly possible with this software. And so let's see how. So when you combine all 3 of these together, you basically are able. It's the dynamic trio for free tools, and it's all pretty amazing that you can use all 3 of these tools for something that's all your assets and all your projects to, do any project that you want. All these, there's a lot of great work out there, especially like I said in the collections tab here. There's a lot of great community work out there. So if you want to see some of that community work, you can go to I think it's the Facebook group that you can see some of these assets or some of these projects coming out. And it's really staggering what people are doing. So that pretty much covers, I believe, the bulk of the software here. I do want to specifically mention a couple things. Again, I know that's a pretty hot topic to see the AI search results with the images. Again, that's going to be coming at a later date, so don't worry about that. They're working really hard on it. as well as I know there is a big a big topic for Mixer 2020. To answer all the questions about Mixer, don't worry, that is coming very soon. They just have to basically polish it a little bit further, and it looks phenomenal, so you'll be really happy with that. And once that does come out, transition over here real quick in the local library here. So the local tab here obviously represents what's on your physical hard drive. And I know so we have the Megascans subcategory, the Mixer subcategory, and the imported subcategory. So the Megascans subcategory obviously is all of the Megascans assets that you've downloaded on your machine. The Mixer category will showcase all of the assets that you've made within Mixer. So the transition between Mixer and Bridge here is quite nice, because then you can just from Mixer you can save that to the library, and then it'll appear right here in this same library window, and then you can quickly just export that to any rendering engine that you want. It's a really fast process. You don't have to worry about any type of transitioning or copying and saving or moving stuff around. There's a whole lot of ways to do this, but Bridge is basically trying to be a one-stop shop for organizing all of not just your own assets, but a really nice intuitive way to organize the Megascans assets. And I know there's a word I just said that probably sparked a flame in some of y'all's ears, was the word custom, was your own custom assets. Well, we could do that. So let's go ahead and select import, which we don't really have to select import. Let's just go back to home. I wasn't going to talk about this, but since I believe we have some time, I'll just showcase this really fast, since it's been a lot of questions lately on custom assets.
Oh, yes. Quite a few in chat even that I've been answering. So thank you so much for reading my mind.
No, it's perfectly fine. So custom assets are a thing, and the Bridge team is still working on making the import process and the usability process of custom assets more fluent. We wanted to go ahead and get Bridge 2020 out to you guys so that you can get familiarized with the software as a whole and this new header homepage dynamic. But there should be more functionality, I believe, coming with the realm of custom assets. But you can import them now. We can go ahead and if we can just go to File, and we can import asset. So this is one of the two ways that we can do this. So we went to File and selected Import Asset. So now what I've got here is a folder that's called Antique Brick. So I've selected that folder, and I'll just showcase this folder off to the side. So this is my Windows Explorer here. So inside this folder is just some textures of an asset that I actually photo scanned it where I work. This is a brick wall around the building that I work in. And so I just photo scanned this, made it, texturized it, worked on it, and I've got all of the texture maps here that I could want, including a 3D sphere, which we'll get to that in just a second. So we can, and through this method, just select the folder only, because it'll only let you select the folder. So we'll click Select Folder. And you can see right here, it has actually filled in with the categories of all of the assets or all of the texture maps that it fits. It's even giving you a little preview window here at the very bottom. You can uncheck what you don't want or keep checking what you do want. So the beauty of this window here is that you can customize your asset to be for Bridge. And let me scroll up here just a second. This is actually, didn't plan for this. Here we go. So one thing that you really need to think about whenever you import a custom asset is how you want Bridge to filter it. Because yes, all of your assets you can filter the same exact way that you can with all the Megascans assets. But here it's up to you to specify the categories. So here it's an antique brick. It's default, the texture itself is 4K, so I don't get a choice to change the resolution unless you have multiple resolutions of that asset. But anyway, so it's the type of this is a surface, and what this is I'm going to put it under the category of bricks, and then let's choose a subcategory, And I believe the one that I've picked, yes, architecture right here. There is a lot of subcategories, so you might want to take some time to go through them. There we go. And the surface size, this is, you can specify this to whatever you want, but be sure that you know the scale of what your asset is, especially if it's a surface. You want it to be scaled properly. This asset is technically more like 1.15 meters maybe in reality, whatever that conversion is into feet, because we're in the U.S. I'm in the U.S., so it's all feet here. So, but anyway, the
Freedom
other
units.
freedom units are imperial. Yeah. So the next thing that you have to do it's going to help you with all your search results is the tags here. So the tags are what's going to help the metadata of Bridge filter through everything basically. So we're going to obviously call this brick. And once you typed that in, there's a little bit of delay on my personal keyboard because my keyboard hates me. You can do it. All right, after you've typed a word, you just hit enter, and then you can then type a next word. So I'm going to just type in wall. I want to keep adding a few tags here as they pop up. And then I'm going to call this, then we'll say that it's a red color. All right, so I think 3 is fine for now to get the point across. You can add dozens of tags to kind of help break down what your asset is. So now, let's after it's figured that out, let's scroll to the bottom. So here's one thing I wanted to point out was the asset previews. You notice that all of the assets in Bridge are in the form of a sphere. Well, since I didn't have a sphere image by default in my folder, it's just picked the albedo map. There is, I know you saw a sphere image here, and that's just one that I've done in Marmoset Toolbag, but we do have a video, I believe, on the Quixel YouTube channel on how to make your own custom sphere, on how to export that to Marmoset. There is a sphere mesh that you can grab. There's a blog post on it too, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. But anyway, you can customize the asset preview any way you want. And that tutorial that we did a while back on the channel will show you how to customize this. So now all we have to do is select import, but you notice there's an import all. You can actually add more than one asset import more than one asset at a time. And that's if you're really intense and you want to import dozens at a time. But for me, I'm just going to import this one. So we'll select import. You can see in the top right, it is running through the process of importing this asset. And then once it's done, we'll be able to see this custom asset in our local library. So it is still importing because it is some pretty big images. And it looks like it has completed. So if we go to local, we now have 2 assets in our local library. So here is that same brick asset. We can select it. We can look at the different maps just like you're used to. And we can also look at it in 3D. It's a really sunny day there. I don't think I got my personal roughness map set up correctly for this, but you get the gist that you can import an asset inside Bridge, and that process that I showed you is the same exact way for 3D models too. I don't have a 3D mesh to show an example of this. I just have a surface. But that same breakdown, you would have to import individually each LOD if you've got each individual LOD mesh for your asset. If you've got a different albedo for different LODs or a different normal for your different LODs, you would import those just like the exact same process that I showed you for the surface here. Also, if you were to just have the, as far as our search results go, you see it's a surface. It's added this category. It's added a brick category. You can even type in, if we were to, if we go back to local and back to import, if we were to select the all colors here and change that to red, then it brings up the antique brick because I've made sure that the tag was red. So when you import your custom assets, just make sure that for your tags, you do something that is similar to the search filter results here. You can say that it's new. You can say that it's old. You can say what type of environment it's going to bring into, and that'll help you break down your assets better if you've got hundreds of assets. Well, I believe that pretty much covers it on my end, John. What do we have for Q&A?
Oh, there's always questions. Every
single
stream
time,
is
yes.
always questions, which is a good thing because it shows that there's a lot of interest in the community. And,
Yeah, definitely.
you guys always have some pretty unique ones every time we start. A lot of them focus on custom content, and I think you covered that quite well.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, if you guys have any other questions right now, we have 15 minutes left in the stream. I will personally say I love Bridge, and especially the community content slash what's the exact term for them again? Collections,
Collections,
right?
yeah, collections.
I've been answering so many questions. I'm trying to put my brain back into talk mode.
And it's great. I mean, just being able to see the collections in this preview window like this without having the old way of going through. I mean, you still have the old school way of this list here on the left. Well, I wouldn't say it's old school, but it's a new version, a new way of seeing it broken down this way. But being able to see a little snippet of what the collection is, as well as seeing who made it, and then you can, like for the tutorials, for example, if we were to go to the Blood Gulch one, we know that Jack made this. So say, hey, can I ask Jack a question, in Discord or in the Facebook group? We can, everyone in the Quixel community is really open to helping everyone out. So that's one great way of getting some information, especially whenever the time comes. I can't say an exact date of when this would be available, but whenever it's possible to get these tutorial project files, then that's another level of understanding that's pretty fantastic.
Yeah, that's something we wanted to do for a while, and it's much more practicable now that we work with Epic, because we can make these things available. We can actually show you guys how to do these things, and if time permits, we can even help walk you through them.
Right.
Now, one of the things I wanted to say was I really got a shout out to that American Sidewalk collection. Now, it's not just because I live in America. It has nothing to do with it. It just looks awesome, man. It's got to be out of LA, the way it's set up. It's gorgeous. It's really inspiring me to go back and work on my Deus Ex Hell's Kitchen recreation from 2000. I stopped it. What was it, last summer? Because I couldn't get any work done on it with Mixer still being a 2D tool. And now that it's 3D and I've been testing it and working with it, and it's phenomenal,
great,
by the way. Yeah, it is. It's insane. Now that I have the ambition to go back to it, looking at how really nice an urban environment can look, and using that as inspiration to go back to my own work and say, here's how I can take it to the next level. That's how community creations and community collections can really influence people. Because I work here and I'm looking at that and I'm like, that is awesome, man. I want to do that.
When I have to agree with you. When I'm driving around town and I have seen this asset before, I just keep thinking about, I wish they'd scan this asset. I wish they'd scan that asset. I'm like, give me a stop sign,
I'm still waiting for them to come down here to Orlando and help me scan an alligator.
Oh, that'd be hard. We have to tranquilize them.
No. You just go to the golf course. There's plenty of them just sitting there. Or you can go to the mini golf courses where there's baby ones, and they just chill out. They don't even move. If you make them cold enough, they'll just sit there. They don't do anything.
Oh, that is very true. We'll make sure there's a waiver form signed for the scan team.
Oh, yeah. Well, they have tape around their mouth, too. It's not like we're going to go Steve Irwin on this stuff.
True.
But so, guys, we are in the last phase here, so please feel free to ask questions. I'm going to kind of step back from typing as much as I was, just to kind of see if we can engage with you in voice. So by all means, I know there's a stream delay, so you guys are going to hear this in the next 20 seconds. But as always, if you have questions about Bridge, please feel free to ask. Mixer, we can't talk too much about because it's still in development, as I've said. We have a standing rule at Quixel that we generally do not talk about things that are coming up in the future because, well, part of our job is to make sure that you guys are happy. And if we miss expectations because we set them, then you're not happy. And that makes, well, that's not a good thing. We want to make sure that you guys are happy in everything that we do. So just try to remember that we can't always tell you what's coming down the pipe. Even if there's a lot of stuff I wish I could talk about, some of it we just can't. So people are getting a kick out of the alligator discussion.
Oh no, right? It's gonna
But yeah, I
happen.
mean, God, we got to do it. We have to scan an alligator. We have to. I will not rest until I put an alligator in the box, get the scan, and then put it on
Hmm.
something.
I'll meet you down there.
Oh yeah, I hope you will. Speaking of scans and Mixer, just as a quick overview, on my ArtStation, I put up a material that I made of my corn snake recently,
Oh yeah.
and just to show you guys what it can actually do. I'm not going to link to it because I don't want to self promote, but I mean the ability to make pretty much any material you want now. It's being unlocked. So like we're going to be doing a lot of content on Mixer 2020 coming up, and I am probably going to be focusing a little bit on that as somebody who kind of headed, or at least headed, or helped head up some of the development on Quixel Suite. I'm going to try to get people up to speed, coming from a Suite background, to understand how to work with Mixer. And of course, with Bridge, we can help conjoin some of that, but especially with the assets and how to manage them and download them and get them prepped for Mixer. So that's going to be some stuff you guys can look forward to in the future too. For those of you guys who loved Endu and Dedo, there's a lot of things that you can do in Mixer that are even way more powerful than that. And I don't want to set lofty expectations. It's just going to be cool. You guys will enjoy it, and it will get better as time goes on. That's all I can say about
Oh
that.
yeah, definitely.
Let's see here. Uh, I'm looking for questions, but I'm not seeing too many yet. People are just kind of
Does
talking
everyone,
about scanning all the things.
all the things? Does everyone kind of? I mean, it's pretty straightforward on the layout of why things are laid out the way they are in this home page. But does everyone have any questions regarding how to find anything in Bridge? I think I talked about probably 7 ways of finding stuff or exporting stuff.
So far, no, it's been pretty quiet on that front. Most of the questions that we got were around licensing terms, and occasionally people would ask about custom assets.
I knew that one was
Um,
going to come up. I had a backup plan for
yeah,
customs.
customs are important. A lot of studios
Hmm.
use them, especially like you come from an ArcViz background, right?
I don't. I do the architecture. I don't do ArcViz specifically, but I do 3D renderings that aren't as good as some of the astronomically well ArcViz studios that do that stuff. Like that's their full time job. Like I do. My full time job is building the buildings and I do rendering, but I'm trying to get more into it. But
So one question that we just had pop up. I hate to cut you off.
you're fine.
Guayla Gomez. I'm trying to make sure I don't destroy this guy's name. Is Quixel and Bridge going to be interlinked? Like, can we export the things we create to our own Bridge library? Well, that's a good question, but Quixel and Bridge are basically the same thing. Quixel is our subdivision of Epic Games, and Bridge is part of the software that we develop at Quixel. So when you download assets from Bridge, it becomes part of your asset library, and Bridge manages that content for you. Would you agree?
Yeah. Yes. Bridge is the software that is developed by Quixel, and Bridge is in its forefront. Bridge is basically a desktop version of the online Megascans library. Well, a better version of the online Megascans library that you've seen, and its entirety is meant to be a universal content management system, not just for the Megascans assets, but as I've mentioned a few times, your own custom assets. And the whole custom asset realm will get a whole lot better. Like it'll get more smooth. It'll you can add it as many as you want. Even now, you just have to do the effort up front to make sure that your tags are organized, and you should be set. There's one last thing I really wanted to say because I know it was something that I like with collections, and this would help a lot with your custom assets too, especially if you've got different projects like the Blood Gulch project and the Silent Hills bathroom project. They're all it hasn't been knocked off. It's going to happen, but many of the updates that are going to be rolling out with Bridge throughout this year, the ability to create custom assets, custom collections, your own personal collections that you house on your local system, are in the works of becoming a reality. So just stay tuned for a later update for that. I know that's a big one as far as organization terms.
Yeah, I can't wait to finally like get the handcuffs taken off and actually be able to start talking about some of this stuff more openly in the future.
Oh,
Not right
I
now,
know. Yeah.
because there's so much cool stuff coming down the pipe. And I mean, with us working with Epic now, the future is so much brighter. It's like, you know, that song was like, the future's so bright, I got to wear shades.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I feel like I need some industrial strength eyewear protection for what's coming down the pipe.
Oh, yeah.
So, um, yeah, so it looks like the questions are kind of trickling out, and it is pretty much at the end of the stream. So, I wanted to go ahead and just say thanks, guys, for being here with us. It is always a pleasure to host these streams and be part of this fantastic community.
Hmm.
As always, we pride ourselves in being as accessible as we can be. I think it's one of the things that kind of distinguishes us at Quixel from, I don't want to say competition or anybody in general, but just other companies out there. We try to be part of the community because a lot of us, myself included, came from the community. I came from Polycount. I got hired into Quixel from Polycount. That's my origin story. No superpowers, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And,
Same with me. Same. I'm from the community as well.
yeah, so we're a company of artists built by artists, and we try to make sure that artists are happy with what we do because we live and die by our reputation. So it's always fantastic to see this huge turnout we get. Currently 250 plus people watching. It's very humbling to be part of this and see you guys here. We are still working on more content for you guys, so please hang on for that. We will get as much out as we can. I think the next major stream may, don't quote me on this, but may be focused on Mixer. So we will probably be talking about that in the near future. So don't get hyped yet, but get hyped when it comes out because it's going to be something fun. And I will help you guys as much as I can to get up to speed if you come from a sweet background, as I did, having used Endu and Dedu for something like 6 or 7. Heck, I've been using Endu since I was in college, 2009,
Wow.
when it was still a Photoshop action. So I've got quite a history with this company. That being said, it's a pleasure, guys. Thanks so much for being with us. And Tyler, thank you especially for talking as much as you did and covering all these fantastic subjects. It's a great to work with you. It's great to be around with you guys. And we will see you all next time.
Yeah. Thank you.